On the island of Newfoundland, upon the southwest coast, lies the little town of Virgil, to whom I'll sing this toast. There are so many highlands that lie just off her shore, and when the cold north wind blows, you can hear the billows roar. The people from the village make their living from the sea. They like their independence. It shows that they are free. Some fish in their small boats in the wind, the rain and sleet, while others make their living on the offshore trawler fleet. They've known their share of tragedies down through the years, and when the memories overcome, they show their grief with tears. For they have lost some loved ones to the furies of the seas, for heartaches and heartbreaks are locked in memories. This village, it's got beauty carved on its rugged shore. 7 miles of pure white sand, who could ask for more? The mountains and the valleys where the rivers run so fast, and the salmon rise to the sportsman's fly as he makes another cast. Now the people of this village love their native home, for anyone who goes away most surely will return. Just like that lifelong mystery, the answer you won't know. What makes this rugged village burn so deeply in your soul? What makes this rugged village burn so deeply in your soul?
Good evening, and welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight in our stories we have Virgil Academy Christmas Concert, Fire Department's new equipment, Virgil Academy Awards Night, our MHA Calvin Parsons, the last day of school before Christmas break, Town Council Report. Please stay tuned for these stories after this.
When you wish for something wonderful to happen,
sometimes it can make you forget
about the needles and the pain,
and get through this thing.
Forget about being stuck inside.
Laugh with my family?
Go somewhere really amazing and get through this thing.
The Children's Wish Foundation of Canada. Imagine the difference a wish can make.
On Monday, Virgil Academy held its annual Christmas pageant. There were a variety of skits and songs performed by the students from grades kindergarten to 6 and the drama club. Vanessa Han and Reggie Marzin were the MCs for the evening. The snack program committee sold tickets on a turkey dinner, and it was won by by Cassie Porter. This was to be shown in its entirety at a later date. The fire department has acquired some new equipment that will prepare them more efficiently in cases of emergencies and rescues. Fire Chief Glenn Hand was on hand to describe and demonstrate it for us.
I'm Maxine, this is Glenn, Fire Chief. Over the last week we got a ice rescue board. Hopefully we'll never have to use it. The purpose for this ice rescue board would be in an event that someone's not fortunate enough to go into the pond or skid in the winter time. We could end up having to go and try to rescue them. So this board will be used for this. We got two of those ice rescue suits that the firemen would be putting on to help keep them from the cold. When they go down on the ice, the fireman, I got the hood down now, we'll let you hood off. The fireman will have this on here, and what he would do, we got the rescuer got a ice pick here and a ice pick on this side, and there's also two ice picks here on each on each side. The cords he's going out. The cords he's going out on the ice. The rope that Ross got in his hand, that would also be hooked onto the machine as well. So what I would do, or if I go down on the ice, I would be towing myself on the ice. And when I get out to where the person will do, what I would do then, I would turn the board around to stay with you, right? I would stay where I'm to. It's about a length from the person that would be in the water. And what I would do then, I would push the board out to where Ross is still, and encourage him to put his arms here, would be hooked onto me. So when we're pulling the victim, the person out of the water, what we're doing there now, we're encouraging him to put his arms through the strap, right? This is all new, we just. Okay, so what we would do then, I would signal to the person on shore, which would be Dave. Dave, when you're ready, what he would do, he would roll his line back. Okay, it's like a pulley, Maxine, right here. Right here, there's a pulley system. So I really I won't have to touch the person. If he's conscious enough to hold himself into there with his arms through the strap. There's like a pulley system here. According to pulling himself up, this board will slip off, and according to Dave is on the line. The person who pulls the person onto the board. And what I do after, I just go, Dave, come over here, Dave. Okay, so he's on there. So I'm still hooked onto the board in case something happens. So what I would do then, according to they're going to haul on the line, I would stay here behind the person, and they would pull us to safety. Okay? This piece that we got here also is if someone was unfortunate enough to go through the ice, but they still were conscious and they had pretty much all their vitals about them. There, Ross. Just go back to those again. When Ross was younger, Ross felt it, so we should get a first-hand experience. Just nail that. So what we would do then, I would slide out, come out on the board, and encourage him to put the rope down under his arm. No, under one arm. And come across. He's down under the ice. Up one arm down under. What we do is bring it on across, as tight as possible. And I would take this out, but he's conscious, he can talk to us and he knows what's going on. So what we sing out to to the rescuers that's on the shore, they could pull them over the ice rather than use this board. But the board we're going to use, say, if there's someone stuck in the ice very long, we got the roller back there. We'll also get the hand signals on here that they can pull and push up. But he's saying that the person that's going out in the ice, myself, for example, for demonstration, that I would always be hooked to the lifeboard. Okay? Then okay? Just for example, now we got them out of the ice. Okay? So we just have the board put down itself from here. Alright guys, when we're ready, just hold up the bed here. So come over here, bud. Okay? This here is this here is off the walk around in Wisconsin. This here is a hyperthermic blanket that we would use to lie the person into. We lie the person down into this hyperthermic blanket. Okay, Ross. Now where he's wet, what we did to do, pop on his clothes, and we lie him, just lie down. Just lie in the blanket. What Terry's doing right now, Terry will strap the person into the blanket. Okay? And we zipper it up. Oh. It's zippering right up. You got carrying straps here on each side. All right, boys. 2 more people, 1 on each side. Or whatever. Okay. 1 more pole. Junior. Just a recording between the non-recorded. All right, Clyde. Wow. Up here. Come on. Let's go. No. We're down. Right there on the strap here. Okay. Everybody left together. Okay. Everybody together. What we do, we take them up. We take them up to where the hammers will be to. Okay. Put them down. We put them into the ambulance, and we take them to the hospital. We keep them into the bag, into the hyperthermic bag until we get to the hospital and let the hospital staff look after them. In an extreme situation, the person is still alive, hopefully, and that's for their hands. Okay. What have happened? Sometimes another person probably would get into the bag and help share body heat. The thing about it is you don't want the body heat to rise too quick. With this here, sort of just minimize your body temperature. Okay, so this is what we got. For the cost of what we got here is $4,000. The suit, hyperthermic bag, rescue board, rope, and our training. Hopefully we won't need to use it, but this is what we got. So over the winter now, the fire department will be practicing with this with our equipment. We purchased this through the fire department fundraising that we do from around town between us, the fire department, and our Burnett's through ticket sales and what have you. This is what we purchased. Also, at this time, I'd like to thank everybody for their generous donation and help us out. Thank you. There in October and November, we done some training with a automatic defibrillator. We had 8 members of the fire department to train. We done training. We got a person came out from Medical West into Corner Brook. We trained 8 members to use this machine First of all, I guess I should say thanks to the people of Burgeo that worked in the fish plants. They donated just about $6,000 to us, and Mr. Gord Ingham through fundraising, he helped raise funds for this defibrillator. So I'd like to thank people and Mr. Gord Ingham. Thank you very much. So in saying that, we did have 8 members that done the course for this Heart Start program. Well, we got this machine aboard our rescue van. Hopefully, it's like everything else. Hopefully we won't have to use it, but we don't know when we could end up having to use it. We've done 8 members. She's pretty well she's user friendly. You can haul her pro. Once you turn her on, once you sit her up, she'll tell you basically what to do. You do your CPR and your compressions, and then you'll be hooking up your the pads onto your heart and that, and she'll tell you basically what to do, when to push the button or what's needed. It's it don't look to be very big, but the price is there, and they're pretty user friendly. Like I say, this machine costs better than $6,000. So I'd like to thank the people of Burgeo and Mr. Gord Ingham for selling tickets. On a 50-50 thing is what they were doing at Foodland, and the union members at Fish Plant, that's what they gave us. We got 8 members trained into use of this machine. There's no such thing as every Thursday night when we do our regular checks. All we got to do with this one here, she got a 5-year battery into her. That's all we got to do. We don't have to push on no buttons or anything. Every Thursday night, all you got to do is look in here, and she got okay marked on here. That battery's good for 5 years. Anytime we do a check on her, if there's anything any different, we got to send her forward book to get her serviced. She seems to be seen through what our training was. It seems to be a very valuable piece of equipment that we've used. I was too far to mention last year, one of the members in the Springdale Fire Department, after returning from a fire, one of the members had an heart attack, died on the back of the truck at the fire station, whatever, just packing back their holes and stuff like that. Not saying that if they had one of those, they would have saved the person, but I certainly would have made a lot of difference whether the man lived or died. So we got this not only just for firemen, but if we're responding to an accident scene or emergency call, at least we got this with the potential of a heart attack that we can be in process of hooking us up to an ambulance gets there or that or whatever. So once again, I'd like to thank the people of Burgeo, and I guess this will be shown before Christmas. So on behalf of the fire department and Burnett, I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a safe and prosperous New Year. Thank you. Also, Maxine, in saying that, I said we had 8 members in the fire department that's trained. We done 8 there at far off, but we got Terry and Levi with the ambulance. We have Rex with Coast Guard as rescue specialist, so really 8 and 3 of us at 11. Yeah, so we got 11 members that's trained in the use of this defibrillator.
On Thursday, Burgeo Academy held its annual awards night. This includes grades 7 to 12 of the 2006-2007 school year. There were addresses from various speakers, and then diplomas, scholarships, and awards were presented. The MC for the evening was Gabrielle Pink. This will also be shown in its entirety at a later date. Our MHA, Calvin Parsons, dropped by the studio to give us an update on things happening in our district. Good evening. In our studios tonight, we have our MHA, Calvin Parsons. Good evening, sir.
Nice to be here again.
Yes, and congratulations on your re-election.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, what brings you back down again today?
Well, I was here last week, of course, for a clinic, which I've try to conduct it at least every month or so. So I was down last week, and I'm back again now for the Burgeo Academy Awards Night, which I've taken in, I think, just about every year. I might have missed one or two or so, but in the last 10 years, but I'm generally there every year. I really look forward to it, actually. It's a very enjoyable event.
Okay, very good. So now that we're close to the end of 2007, what did you find as your highlights for the year as a MHA?
Well, as regards Burgeo, I think a few things happened. That's nice to see. Number one, we got the brush cutting started, finished for this year. Not necessarily to the standard that we'd like, and not as far as we'd like, but I think what we achieved here is that the government now are at least going in the right direction in using a mechanical cutter instead of treating it as a job creation project in the middle of the winter. So I think that was a good initiative and a good start. And I think now it's easier to go back and expand on something that you've already started than it is to get it started. And I think that was a big accomplishment for 2007, was getting it started. So it's good to see the brush cutting project is started. I also, the terminal, albeit it's to service the customers of the ferry that mostly from Ramia and Grey River and Francois and those areas, plus the tourist trade, is being built here in Burgeo. That's good from an economic point of view and from an employment point of view, and it's an infrastructure issue. People, of course, now will have somewhere to use, so it's good to see that that's being done. It's under construction and should be finished by the end of this fiscal year in March. So that was good to see that done. We've also, again, in every community in Newfoundland, just about, you need some job creation projects, or as they call them now, community enhancement projects. And we were successful again this year in getting quite a bit of assistance from the provincial government to assist those people who need those hours so that they can get their time. I believe the projects have been advertised. They're mostly under the sponsorship in Burgeo of the town council. But the monies are there, the monies have been allotted, and I believe council's already advertised for the persons, and they'll be proceeding to actually execute and implement the projects now after the Christmas season, as I understand it. So that's good to see. And recently we just received $10,000 as of this week, actually, which is going to be used in the arena to construct a youth games room and a community social center. So it's good to see, not only over the years, as anyone who's lived there is aware, we put the siding onto the rink, put the roof over it, and made it an enclosed structure as opposed to the open structure that it was. And been getting projects over the last 2 or 3 years to improve it on the inside with stands and so on, and the boards and that kind of thing. So that's been an ongoing project, and now we have an additional $10,000 as of this week for a youth games room. And you need things in any community that the youth can use. Besides the rink itself, now you will have this rink or this room inside, and it's intended to be used for the youth for a games area. So that's good to see. It'll keep them active, and usually if they're active, they're not in trouble.
Yes,
And it's usually good for them. So it's good to see that we have that. So we've had a pretty busy year.
Yes.
Of course, we were caught in the September-October area with an election. So that took a couple of months out of the usual schedule that you would have. But it's been a busy year, and we've accomplished some things, and I'm really pleased to see that we have.
Good, great. So what kind of priorities are you looking for 2008?
Well, and I forgot to say, by the way, that one of the major initiatives that happened last year as well in 2007 was the funding came through from the federal, provincial governments for the new water system, treatment system that got burnt some time ago and destroyed. So that happened in 2007 as well. In 2008, we need to see more brush cutting. We need to enhance and improve on that project. Route 480 definitely needs improvements. There's some areas that need, where it was washed out and the roads on the sides are washed out and so on. But I've had discussions with the superintendent for Western Newfoundland, and he's of a view, same as myself, that rather than do things on an ad hoc basis, we got about 150 kilometers to cover from the Trans-Canada to Burgeo. We should have a defined program so that each year make it a 5-year program that you would recap, resurface, do the repairs that you need to do, but at the same time resurface the highway. So that's where he's gone, and that's the priority with myself as well, that we need to, you know, get it all done in 1 year, but let's set it as a priority, and if we can get so many dollars each year, and the province is in a financial position now where they ought to be able to do that. We're looking at, you know, budget surpluses in the range of $800–900 million. So I anticipate there will be more funding available, and that's the kind of project he's looking at as well, that let's have a long-term project where the planning has gone into it, and let's do it properly. Also, the arena again, there's a project underway for a refrigeration unit in the facility, and that's been submitted to government, and I'm hopeful that that when the budget comes down in March, we're going to see some positive signs there as well. Because we've taken that facility from an outdoor area, and we've improved it quite a bit. Now if we can get the refrigeration unit, all the better, because it'll give the facility about 3 or 4 months usage more than it currently has, because right now we're subject to the whims of Mother Nature. Albeit she came early this year. In some years she hasn't come as early, and we've had a limited time to use it. So the refrigeration unit is in there. That application is made. We put the water project ahead of everything first. Now that the water has been achieved, the priority in terms of municipal in-town infrastructure would be the refrigeration unit itself. So that's priorities. And also a big one and it's got nothing to do with government. This has got to do with Alliant and other service providers, and that's the cell phone coverage. We've taken the petitions, we've circulated them earlier on in the fall. We've got all those put together. I've written to the Public Utilities Board actually already to ask, you know, what are the criteria that service providers must comply with, so that we get our facts lined up as to where we're going. I've arranged a meeting that'll take place early in the new year with the regional manager for Alliant to ask him, where are you going with this? Because we've been given the runaround too long. We've been told now in the last 2 or 3 years, yes, it's on the drawing board, but it costs so much money to do them, and this is not the priority area for this year. Well, we've been waiting long enough now for them to make it a priority. They didn't, so I feel that we need to make it a priority from 2 angles. Let's ask the company first, see where they're going and what their intentions are, and if we don't get the positive response that we want from them, let's use the Public Utilities Board to insist that these people, i.e. Alliant in this case, who's providing the service to the people here, they don't mind selling their cell phone packages, they don't mind selling their cell phones, but yet they're not providing the service along Route 480. And it's necessary, it's a safety issue, not only a convenience issue for people who have cottages up in Peters Strides, it's a safety issue for anyone along southwestern Newfoundland, or anyone who comes to southwestern Newfoundland who goes over Route 480, particularly in the wintertime. And there's no technological reason why it can't be done. It's a matter now of forcing them to spend the infrastructure money that they need to do it. So that's a big priority for 2008 as well.
Yes, that is good.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you you would like to add?
So it's an ongoing thing. You try to build on what we got, and like you say, we got some new things in the works there when it comes to trying to get the cell phone coverage piece done as well. And of course, there's your everyday things that you do. You deal with people's one-on-one matters every day by telephone, and I'll be coming back, of course, continuously to do the clinics as and when required. And I'd like to take this opportunity as well to wish all the citizens of Burgeo a Merry Christmas. I hope they have an enjoyable season, but holidays, particularly those who have their families home with them. There's a lot of people I understand in town. The students are all back, and quite a few families have returned for the holiday season. So I hope everybody has a happy and a joyous occasion, and a happy new year. And may 2008, of course, be prosperous, and may everyone have good health and happiness.
Well, same to you.
Thank you. All the best.
And thank you for coming in. The final day of school for Christmas break was Friday. There were a variety of activities going on at the school. It started with breakfast served by the snack committee. Grades kindergarten to 5 went first, and then grades 6 to 12. After breakfast, grades kindergarten to 5 were in the library and had a sing-along with Derek Mercer, Stacy Pink, and Mr. Ryan Froud. Grades 6 to 12 were in the gym playing Don't Forget the Lyrics.
And it feels so right, isn't it? Oh my.
This took them up until recess time. After recess, they were entertained by various students singing.
I'm having a day from hell. It was all going so well before you came, and you told me you needed space. With a kiss on the side of my face, and again, and not to mention the tears I shed. I should have kicked your ass instead. I needed attention to stop this frigid scream. 'Cause baby, everything is left off straight from the heart. Tell me, what do you do when it all falls apart? Gotta pick myself up, where do I start? 'Cause I can't turn to you when it all falls apart, no. Don't know where I parked my car. Don't know who my real friends are anymore. I put my faith in you. What a stupid thing to do when it rains and pours. And not to mention, I drank too much. I'm feeling hungover, out of touch. I need intervention, attention to stop this rigid scream. 'Cause baby, everything is left off straight from the heart. Tell me, what do you do when it all falls apart? things that come straight from the heart. Tell me, what do you do when it all falls apart? Gotta pick myself up, where do I start? 'Cause I can't turn to you when it all falls apart. No, when it all falls apart. No.
And they also gave out Lolly Awards.
The first girls' nicest smile nominees are Allison Era, Dominique Grant, Jennifer Drake, and Danielle Strickland. The winner is Dominique Grant.
Our next one is for Galway's Nicest Smile. Nominees are Bradley McCullough, Blake McDonald, Reggie Mers, and Norman Short. And the winner is Bradley McCullough.
Both students and teachers seem excited about the upcoming Christmas holidays. Mayor George Reed dropped by the studio with his town council report.
Good evening. Wednesday, council had a meeting, and I'll give you a rundown on basically what happened at the meeting. Well, an update on the water treatment plant. The engineers tell us that the SPICS is ready to go to government early in the new year. So that's ongoing, like I've said before, but they said that they'll have the SPICS submitted to government for their analysis early in the new year. Of course, you all know that the ferry terminal has been started, and they tell us that they hope to be finished by early spring. The new fire hall entrance is completed and is now in use. So when you're going to go to fire hall now and in the future, use the new entrance, please. The crosswalk signs, they have arrived, but I think we're going to have to wait probably until spring to get them installed. We had 17 applications for that part-time clerk job that we had on that we advertised on Channel 10, and I would say sometime in the new year the successful applicant will be named. The Calder Scholarship was given to Carrie Lynn Ann this year. Carrie Lynn is doing third year nursing. Of course, you know the Tidy Town Committee was in our town back in, I guess it was in August whenever time they came in here, and out of a ranking of 100%, they placed us at 74.3%, satisfying the criteria that they were using. Now the budget was approved Wednesday night, the budget for 2008. This year the budget was $972,140. It's a balanced budget. There will be no tax increases this year. I'm sure everyone will be pleased to hear that. So I suppose that's council's Christmas gift to you. They won't take any more taxes off you than they did last year. But this year we're running a very tight budget this year. I think we're showing about $7,000 round figures, around $7,000 surplus at this point in time when we submitted the budget. In other words, that's what we have there to keep us out of trouble if we run into any throughout the year. And of course, that means if all the other expenditures come true. So we're still in good shape. This town probably is one of the better towns on the Highland. Probably I would rank it one of the top 5, to tell you the truth, if I was going to rank it in relationship to how people pay their money and paying it on time, and of course the services that we provide, and the rate of taxes that we got. There's not too many towns can really stand up against this town when it comes to the service that you're getting for the dollar value that council is collecting from its citizens. So you should be very proud of that. The town is in good financial condition, and you, the citizens, of course, you're the ones who make it so. I wanted I think last week, Clayt was telling me, me was telling me they had a number of sewage blockages. And one of the things that he's finding when he goes to clear out these sewage blockages is the amount of fat that's in the sewage lines. He said that it's astronomical, the amount of fat that's in there. He'll shove the snake down through it, and when it comes back, it blocks up on the way back through again, because the amount of fat is just so much, so compressed, so packed together that it takes it a long time to clear it out. Now, fat, of course, you know where the fat comes from. It comes from everyone pouring it down their drain. Now, we've heard that people will even pour fat from their hot fryers down the toilet and flush it down through. Well, of course, it's very liquid when it goes down your drain and goes down your toilet, but when it hits that cold water, it doesn't travel very far before it becomes solid. And then rather than just floating on down through the pipe and out into the salt water, it sticks on the pipe, sticks on the side of the pipe, sticks on the other fat that's there, and eventually you got yourself a blockage. So whether you're aware of that or not, I just thought to bring it to your attention because it's causing problems around town, and it's unnecessary problems. It's problems that we could easily correct or easily avoid by simply pouring most of the fat probably into old cans or bottles and putting it in the garbage, take it to the garbage dump. I mean, if you got a bottle around, just keep an empty bottle and pour the fat in that bottle. Or you got a can, pour it in again. Set up, throw it in your garbage, and be much easier taken care of at the garbage dump than in your sewer system. So we certainly would like for you to think about that, because if the sewage does get blocked up in your area and it comes up into your basement or into your house, council doesn't pay any money for that. I think I've explained that before, that you are responsible for having a backup trap on your line, and if you don't, then any damage that's incurred is at your responsibility, or of course your insurance if you got it. So to avoid that, please be a little bit more careful throwing fat down your drain, or in relationship or in your toilets. Clayt also told me and wanted me to mention to you very, very, very important thing, and that is this time of the year, the winter months, when council is sanding the roads or when they're plowing the roads, when they're coming down off of these steep hills. Now, you might not be aware of it. You might think that that equipment that council got there can stop on a dime. They can't do it. Not only can it not stop on a dime, it can't stop pretty much at all when going down these steep hills in the wintertime. Clayton told me that many a times he've come down that hill up there in West Muddeo, up there by Bill Parsons in that area there, that they've come down that hill and they've been so shook up when they've hit the road that they've had to just pull one side and calm down. Because people have been stuck up down in the road looking at the council vehicle coming down this and not moving, thinking that, well, yeah, she's going to stop. He tells me, no. He've come down these hills with brakes fully on, absolutely depressed as much as he could depress them, and yet she's going on. Hadn't had no serious accidents to this point in time, I suppose mainly because he's so diligently looking at what he's doing, but not because the public is paying attention to what he's doing. And that's probably one of the reasons why they haven't paid much attention, because there haven't been any major accident. But please, when you're traveling across any of these steep hills, and there's several of them in Burgeville, even the hospital up there, coming out of the hospital road towards the fish market there, even that one, he tells me, is steep enough to give him a lot of trouble. Almost have had accidents, many accidents, right at that location, simply because the vehicle cannot be stopped coming down that hill when he's sanding and grading. So if you're coming by it in your vehicle there and you see it's that plow coming down or the sander coming down, stop, let him come down, let him bypass you one way or another, or make sure that he comes to a stop. Don't just come on up past the entrance in these roads, because you could get hit. You could get hit, and it could be very serious, because these are big machines. And if you're a pedestrian coming up there, for goodness sake, if you see that tractor, that plow, or that sander coming down these steep hills and you're a pedestrian, don't walk out in front of it. Don't try to cross that because you think you might make it, and they're only 6 or 7 feet up from you, or even 8 or 10 feet. So try to avoid that, because we don't want any citizen in this town get hurt by that plow or that sander. And this is the time of the year. We're going to end up now with the next 4 months of this. So please give the plow operator and the sander operators, give these machines all the room that they need. Don't try to force your way against these machines. You're not going to win. If they hit you, you've had it. And if you hit your car have had it. And it doesn't make a difference whose fault it turns out to be in the end. If you got your car beat up, if somebody gets killed, it's not going to bring you back to life. The insurance might give you a new car, but you haven't proven a thing. So please use your common sense. Stay away from these vehicles. If you're in the vehicle, if you're in your vehicle, or if you're walking on these steep hills. There's another thing in the news past week or two. You've heard Peter Fenwick making several announcements about fish quotas for Burgeville. And let me explain that to you so you understand what's going on there. There's a joint council in western Newfoundland made up of just about all of the town councils as in western Newfoundland. And 2 Saturdays ago, we had a joint council meeting in the Far Hall in Burgeville. Peter Fenwick is the chairperson of the joint council committee. On the agenda, I put on the agenda a fish quota for Burgeo. It was brought up during the meeting and discussed. So the joint council, the chairperson, who's the spokesperson for the joint council, which is Peter, he arranged a meeting in St. John's with Alistair O'Reilly, Deputy Minister of Fisheries. He and I went and met with Alistair O'Reilly, I think 2 Tuesdays ago. The provincial government said that they had no problem, or they would be easily persuaded to buy a quota for Burgeo if we could get a quota. Okay, so of course there lies the problem, getting a quota. So, and that's what Peter's talking about, is the fact that we are trying to find a quota of fish that we can go back to the provincial government and say, look, we found a quota, this company or so would like to sell their quota. No, will you buy it for Burgeo? Basically, that's what it is. Can we find a quota? Well, that's $1 million question. Because I think if there were many quotas out there to be sold, then probably a lot of communities would ask the provincial government to buy one. So now council has to make a decision now to look for someone who has the expertise to go looking for a quota. And if we're successful enough in finding one, then we can take it to the provincial government and say, look, we have a quota, now you come across with the money. Basically, that's it in a nutshell. And I would say sometime in the early part of the new year, council will make a decision whether or not they're going to employ a consultant to go looking for a quota. So when you hear Mr. Fenwick on the radio talking about that, basically that's what it is. If the provincial government knew where there was a quota, they probably would say there's one here, but they don't know. So it's certainly it's a long shot. It's a long shot at the best. So really don't want to get anyone's hopes up, except to say the fact that we are still trying to push every angle we can to get that fish plant open. And most of the times it seems like it's it's almost a fruitless thing to be trying, but I guess you can't give up. Of course, this is the time of the year again when you're running water. We can't deny that fact. Some people have to run their water, and council recognized that. But a couple of things I would want to say about it. One is that you really should run your water only if you have to. A lot of people in town don't have to run the water, so you shouldn't be running your water. There are people who do have to run it. Hopefully some of you have put EAT tracers on your line and that have taken care of it. Because we've told you many times on this broadcast over the past 8 or 10 years that I've been listening to it, that running water is very, very costly. Every drop of water that you run has to be treated with chlorine, potash, and lime. Very, very expensive. This year, I would say it's around $60,000 that we're going to be spending on water treatment for chlorine. It is estimated that when the new water system come on stream, that is going to cost us in the area of $140,000 plus to treat the water. So if you're going to be running water then, you're going to be running more expensive water. In fact, it's like going to the store and buying a case of 24 water, these bottles of water, bringing them home and taking a sip out and pour the rest down the drain. Pretty much that expensive. So please, if you have to run your water, run it at the bare minimum. And there's ways for you to find that out, you know. I'm sure you've been running your water long enough now that you know how much you got to do it. But unfortunately, some people would disregard that statement that I've just said, and it's been said many times before, and you'll disregard it, and you'll just simply put your hose somewhere, turn it on full blast, and leave it until the spring comes. And unfortunately, some people won't even shut it off then. You know, that's it's not very nice because, as you know, we put the water rates up a couple of years ago now. And water rates will have to go up again if water is totally wasted and we have to treat more. So in other words, the more water we treat, the more expensive it is. And the more expensive it is, the more you got to pay. So you're not doing anyone any favors by running as much water as possible. And the one you're not doing a favor to is you're not doing a favor for yourself. Because if the water increases, you got to pay the same rate. So try and run your water to the minimum, please, and shut it off as soon as you can during the spring. I've been told that taxes must be paid by January the 7th, and if you haven't got your outstanding taxes paid by January the 7th, then the town manager, of course, has no alternative but to add interest on your outstanding balance. So please look at your own situation and govern yourself accordingly, please. I would like to thank the employees of the town for the work that they've done over the past year. They've been very, very busy, and they've done a tremendous job. You've noticed around this town that we had a lot of water breaks last year, and we fixed them all successfully. And that's besides the regular work that they've had to do. So thank you very much to all the employees of this town for the work that they did over the past year. Well, it's that time of the year, of course, when I hope you're all geared up to enjoy yourself for the next week or so. I hope that your kids are home, or in some situation that the parents are home with their kids. I have two coming home with one grandchild. Basically, that's my Christmas, and I'm sure it's that'll be your Christmas too if your kids come home. So enjoy yourself. Make sure you pay attention to that notice that the RCMP have on Channel 10 about drinking and driving. Because it's a serious thing. Take care of yourself, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good night.
This concludes our programming for tonight. On behalf of BBS, I would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you for watching. Good night.
to wake up in the